From a musical point of view, well, this music is very rich also because, as I told you, the composers are supposed to be a great personage, good people from this time. And from a point of view of the notation of the music also, we are at this beginning of the 12th century, in a moment when musicians start to master really the notation of the intervals. So we must have in mind that that was something still new at this time, because the first testimonies we have from the 11th of the beginning of the 11th century, but it was with alphabetical notation, and after in the years 10, 20, 30, the system of Guido d'Arezzo started to be known in Europe, as the system was just indicating with one line the place of the half tone. And at the very end of the 11th century, beginning of the 12th century, we start to have the staves like we know now with 4 or 5 lines, you know, but this was really new, and this developed a new relationship with music, because music was beginning something objective, because in the exterior from the singer himself, because before that, to make an analysis of music, to tone of music, you had to sing. So it was not possible to think about the music with not the experiment of the performance, aside the performance. And with this progress in notation, so you can look at the music, but not to perform music. You can read the music. But at this time, the musical notation was not indicated really the rhythm. And the notation of the rhythm will be the conquest of the next century, the 13th century. And, but at this time, they were able to indicate the melody, the intervals, and so it was something really new. And the notation used, so as I told you, it was written in Vézelay, so it's well, the scholars talk of the Burgundian notation. In fact, it's a French notation with some little characteristic that, well, from Burgundy, but it's a French notation. And so we are, it's the last step before the square notation, because the square notation is going to be set a few years later, around the middle of the 12th century, probably in Paris. It's a Parisian innovation, and very quickly this square notation is going to spread out in all Europe, and with a very wonderful history, because until now, with Gregorian Chant edition, we use this square notation. So, but this square notation, we must always have in mind that this square notation have a lot of aspects, and that the square notation that we use now is very different from the square notation from previous centuries, but that's another subject. And so, to go back to the notation of the Codex Calixtinus. So the Codex Calixtinus, you just have the last step before this square notation. So what does that mean? That means that before the square notation, to indicate the rhythm, the notation itself was just giving a few indications, but to understand the rhythm, you had to make a synthesis between a lot of elements that you cannot deduce from the notation itself. And that's why it's so difficult to understand this music. And all these elements, well, you are first from the words himself, because the Latin words have a rhythm. You have lunga, brevis, and brevis in the Latin words. So that can be an element. After you have other things related with, generally talking, with the rhetorical aspect of this music. I mean, sometimes you shall have to stop on one word, to make a gap, to make a silence, or to go faster or slow. So all these things are really related to the art of talking, the eloquencia, the art of eloquence. And also, before the 13th century, the only tools at the musician to talk of rhythm were the tools from the poetry, and the rhythm of the poetry, that comes from late antiquity, from the Greek and the Latin, that use the same system. The Greek and all, so the way of making the scansion of the poetry was alternance of lunga and brevis. So you can have lunga, brevis, ja, la, 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 or contrary brevis, lunga, da, la, 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 or lunga, brevis, ja, la, 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 etc., etc. And so, but that gives us indication about the rhythm, but it's not like in the modern system, and when it gives you precisely that this note has 2, 3 beats, 4 beats. It's just lunga brevis, but this lunga brevis can, of course, change according to a lot of elements. And the synthesis of all this aspect is done by one element. Scholars have forgotten, unfortunately, in the field of chant. And this element was called the tripudium. And the tripudium, it's a very old word. It comes from the Roman and the Greeks. It's a motion of the body. The way of moving the body while singing or dancing. We always have in mind this, that in for the ancient Greek and Romans, music, poetry, and dance, in fact, it was 3 aspects of the same art, the same science. And so the way of moving the body is really linked with the music. That's why when I said formerly that the only tool they had to talk of the musical rhythm was the tool of the poetry, yes, but it's also the tools of moving, of dance, and so. And all of these rhythmical patterns with lunga, brevis, and so it's also a way of moving the body. And this global way of moving was called the tripudium. And so that means that all the different aspects I evocated, so the notation, the musical notation, the rhythm of the word, the rhythm of the phrase itself, and the rhetorical aspect, and so all these things might find a synthesis in this motion of the tripudium. And the Codex Calixtinus is it's a very good example of, first because the music is very well done. We don't know who really composed it, but the one who composed it was very good musician.